The spice scenes gave me the ick. For example, our tongues battle. Sorry, that doesn't do it for me. Our tongues battle? No thank you. I need Libby to give me my holds right now. Right now, I need Libby to give it to me. When you get 50% off books, you do things. You do questionable purchases. Hi, besties. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 16 books I read in July. Can't believe I read that many books, but I also can because some of them were quick and easy. We're going to tell you the stats. I read 4,470 pages and I listened to 29.15 hours of audiobook. The average time to finish was 7 days, which I'm shook. How did I read 16 books, but you're telling me my average was 7 days? Mostly medium pace, mostly 300 to 499 pages. We had 9 genres, most of them romance. Are we surprised? I read half digitally, which does make sense, and then I read mostly print and then audio, and my average rating was a 3.69 stars. If you saw my last video, I was able to knock off a decent portion of my physical TBR, and I'm so excited to put them on my shelf after filming this video. So let's go ahead and get started because I have a lot of books to talk about, and I like to yap. So, there's that. I have started to create like a notes app, and as I'm reading the book, I write my thoughts so I can come back to this video and speak my thoughts, because by the end of the month, I forgot what books I read. The first book I read was Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I listened to this via audiobook as well as physical, and I just thought this gave perfect summer vibes. I didn't feel like I was missing out without reading Icebreaker, which I had a huge concern about. I wanted to read them in order, but alas, I didn't, and I felt like I was able to understand and connect to the characters. I enjoyed the communication in this book. It was top tier. Because I honestly hate miscommunication in books, and so I really enjoyed how the characters really talked through it, and there was parts of the book where it was like, oh my god, you made me a miscommunicator, which I thought was kind of funny. The audiobook was good. It was dual point of view, and I didn't really care for the spice. I thought it didn't add to the story in any way, but it also didn't take away from it, and I gave this, I gave this a 4.25 stars. The next book I read was Heartstopper. I have finally started that series. I was able to get the first 3 editions or volumes on Libby, which was amazing. Now I'm unfortunately waiting for the 4th and 5th one. And I gave this one a 3-star. It was really basic to me. Please don't hate me. I had a good time reading it. Read this on 4th of July at the pool. It was perfect vibes. Super fast paced, super easy to get into, but the first book kind of just introduced the story. Yeah, it was an intro book. I gave it a 3-star, pretty mediocre, pretty average for me. The next book I read was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. I really enjoyed the dual point of view. I thought it was a pretty good novella. I don't really read many of them, but I thought this one was pretty well fleshed out. I definitely could have read 100 or so more pages of their story. It made me excited to get back into the universe. I read Powerless, I think back in February, maybe, and it had been a while, so I wanted to get like a refresher on the universe, and I was excited to get into this before Reckless. You know, I just felt really bad for Mac, and that's all I'll say on that. I gave this one a 4 stars. The next book I read was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Where do I start with this one? Let me just quickly mention I did give this a 5 stars. I did, 100%. Definitely gave it 5 stars. I have a couple of notes, so we'll just quickly run through them real quick. Career rivals to lovers, small town romance, book people or books about people or books about people who love books. I love Charlie. He sees Nora wholeheartedly, supports her, encourages her, and doesn't want to change her, which I really appreciated. and he understood her need for control, which I love Charlie Lastra. I love both of their families so much in this story. I thought it was, love is a strong word. I don't know if I would put love, but I enjoyed getting to know Charlie's family and then understanding Nora's family. I am so excited for the adaptation. I literally cannot wait. I loved Charlie. He is like my ideal book boyfriend, and I think this is my favorite Emily Henry book I've read. And I've read all of them. So, oh, one thing I want to say about book lovers. I wish we were able to get like Lauren Asher, Lucy Score thickness for this story. Okay, I did not want this book to end. I could have read at easily another 200 pages, 300 pages of this book, of this character, of this story, of this setting. I mean, I could have ate up another 300 pages. So I'm very upset that we were only limited to this much, but I was so obsessed with this book. The next book I read was Expiration Dates by Rebecca Serrell, I think. And I felt like she was trying to be Ashley Poston with the magical realism. I don't know who came first. I don't know who came second. That might be a really hot topic. But to me, I just felt like Ashley Poston is top tier when it comes to magical realism elements. And then Rebecca Serrell was just, I don't know, didn't meet the expectations that I'm used to. It had magical realism, the pacing was weird, I was bored, so forgettable, and I absolutely hated the ending. I gave this 2 stars. And that's that. Next book. I am so sorry. I genuinely didn't like the story at all. I just didn't connect with the characters. The main character was pretty insufferable, and that's that. Nora Goes Off Script. I read this month afterwards on Libby. Love Libby. And I ended up giving this 4 stars. My thoughts were, I loved Leo's relationship the dynamic with Nora's kids. I thought that was super sweet and endearing. He just entered their routine and just helped it flow instead of trying to change it. He just added to it. Nora is a single mom who is a movie writer, script. Leo is a famous actor. It's a workplace kind of romance, strangers to friends to lovers. I loved the forced proximity element of this book, and the reason for the third act conflict was a unique twist in my opinion. So if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. The next book I read was a thriller, and that was The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, and this was my first Sally Hepworth book, and I gave this 3 stars. The audiobook was really good. I really enjoyed it. The first 30% hooked me. I was so intrigued to know where the story was going. I really enjoyed the short chapters. It made me want to keep reading. I liked the glimpses of the then and now timeline, and I'm still kind of confused personally, and it was entertaining at the time. I still remember what the plot twist was and what the ending was, but it's very forgettable for me, so that's why I gave it a 3 stars. Oh, it was also a very good, I think, summery atmosphere book because it was kind of like on a beachy cliffside, so if you wanted like a summer thriller, I would highly recommend that one. And then I tried again with Rebecca Serrell, and I read, or Serrell, I think it's Serrell. And I read One Italian Summer. And this one, again, had magical realism, and it had grief of a parent. In this case, it was her mom. And it was a cool concept of being able to travel to one of her favorite locations and then being able to run into your younger mom's self at your age. But I didn't really agree with what Katie's actions were in part of the story. And if you've read the book, I think you know what I'm trying to say. The spice scenes gave me the ick. For example, Our Tongues Battle. Sorry, that doesn't do it for me. Our Tongues Battle? No, thank you. Nope. And I don't know if it's the audiobook, but the female main character was so whiny. And I got bored around the 80% mark. So, with that being said, that one was a 3 star. I liked it better than Expiration Dates. The next book I read was Say You'll Be Mine by Nana Kumar. I loved this book. It was a forced proximity, marriage of convenience, fake engagement type of thing. It has Indian representation, and I thought that was something that I don't normally read about, so I enjoyed. And I gave this a 4 stars. My thoughts were I loved the narrators in the audiobook. One thing about me, like I just said, I love fake dating. I love forced proximity. I love fake engagements or marriage of conveniences. They do it for me every time. And there is maybe a one-bed trope. And it was a pretty typical plotline for what tropes go. But I loved the family support, and I enjoyed how they both didn't forget themselves in the process of falling in love. So, thought this one was a cute 4-star read. The next book I read was Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This book, if you've read my reading vlog, you might know how I feel. But let me just first off by saying I think Ashley Poston has such unique ideas, and I think that this book was such a cool concept. Basically, the female main character gets to live her dream of living in her favorite romance series town, Quixotic Falls. Finally killed it. If you watched my reading vlog, I could not get this name right for the life of me. So it's Quixotic Falls, and the story goes from there. Basically, she gets to meet her favorite characters, gets to experience the fictional town that she absolutely fell in love with, and how cool is that, right? Like, we all want to go to Chestnut Springs, Canada. We all want to go to the Night Court. We all want to go to, I don't know any other. I'm just saying, we all want to go to our favorite places. There were lots of names. Obviously, you're trying to understand her favorite character, her favorite book characters. So I understand that, but for me, it was a little confusing, and I had a really hard time grasping what character was who they were in the story, and why I should be happy for seeing them. I love a book that is about books, or again, I love books that are about people who love books. I love them. One of my 6-star reads is The Echo of Old Books, and she is a bookseller who also enjoys books, so believe me when I say I love it, okay? Writing was so descriptive. It was so flowery. It was so fluffy. It was just like so hard to get into the story and root for the characters, because she was too busy focusing on painting the atmosphere and the town, and it was too much for me. It was too much. I'm so sorry if you gave this book a 5 stars. That is totally fine. For me, I couldn't connect to the character because I was too busy reading about the clock tower or the coffee shop or the color of the trees in the town. I don't know. So this book was low-key putting me in a slump, because I think I was trying to read 2 books that were very similar in vibes, and maybe this was a wrong book at the wrong time, and maybe I would consider rereading it. That's a very strong maybe, because both of these books are small town romance. They're both about people who love books. There's both bookstores. There's grumpy male main characters. This one has friend conflicts. This one has family conflicts. So there were very similar things, but this one was just top tier. And so when I was reading them comparatively, this one was just not living up to book lovers. And so, yeah, I just felt like the book was way too flowery. I didn't feel a connection to the characters. I was a little disappointed because I felt like this book was putting me in a slump. And the ending had some redeemable moments, so that is the reason why I gave this book a 3.25. Literally, the ending almost scared me, but then redeemed itself. So, let me just say, I do think that this book has some pretty good one-liners for the love of books. So, take my opinion with a grain of salt, okay? I think I have a minority opinion in this one. After a novel love story, I read Heartstopper Volume 2 and 3. I really enjoyed Volume 2 because you got to see the friendship dynamic. It was quick and easy and bingeable, so again, I read it like in one sitting in less than an hour. And then Volume 3, I loved the setting of this story. They end up going on like a school trip, and I loved seeing the growth of their relationship. This one dealt with heavier topics, so I would definitely check trigger warnings for this series. And I can't wait to continue it. I need Libby to give me my holds right now. Right now, I need Libby to give it to me. The next book I read was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I read this immersively, so I downloaded the audiobook as well as read it physically. I did this with Powerful, and it really helped me get into the world because I was severely disappointed by Powerless, so I was very scared to go into Reckless. Let me just start off by saying I gave this a 3.5, and I felt like the inner monologue or the banter was very physical, and I know that Lauren Roberts said that this was a different change of pace, and a lot of people are saying that this got the middle book syndrome, or it's a middle fluff book. I didn't really mind because I didn't really care for Powerless. Like, I went there for the journey, I went there for the adventure, I wanted to understand the characters more, etc., but I felt like a lot of their descriptions were physical. For example, the eyes, the softness of their skin, their voice, their hair, etc. Also, I read Powerless immersively with the audiobook, and the narrator has a lisp, and I'm sorry, I don't picture Kai Azar with a lisp. Just saying, I think that the voice actor is great and executed it really well, and everyone can absolutely adore the narrator. For me, my version of Kai Azar does not have a lisp. And so that was hard for me to really connect to Kai in the first book, and it was, again, really hard for me to connect and root for Kai in this book. I know, it's a very small thing, it's very niche, but for me, that's just my opinion. Constantly talking about how they love that they have this attraction, but they can't do anything about it because of Kai's duty was a little frustrating. It was an enjoyable time. I read it in one day. I did not see the ending at all. I'm one of those people that likes to go into books blind and just go with the flow and let the author really take me through the journey. And so I definitely did not see the ending. I didn't predict it. I didn't try to guess. Again, that's just the way I read. I think I liked it more than Powerless because maybe we got more of them one-on-one than in the trials. That could be an unpopular opinion, but I think I enjoyed Powerful more. So it's kind of like a toss-up. And then someone mentioned how this should have been a novella and Powerful should have been an extended novel, and I totally agree. I think that this book could have taken out like at least 30% of the book, and this is already kind of on the smaller side for a fantasy. I think if she took out like 30% and added more action, more plot, that would have been a fan favorite for a lot of people. So those are my thoughts on Reckless. Okay, then I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This was my second Catherine Center book, and it's about Katie and Joe. So Sadie has facial blindness due to a procedure, a genetic thing, and she had to do a procedure, and it caused inflammation on the part of the brain that recognizes faces. So she has a facial blindness, but she's also a portrait painter. So she deals with a lot of identity crisis, and she doesn't really know what to do, how to continue her career and her passion and make money, because she's known for her portrait paint. She's known for her facial portraits, and now that she has facial blindness, that's just out of the picture. The main character is a veterinarian, which we love. He's also an acts of service king. Peanut is the dog's name, and I just have to say my first hamster that I ever had was named Peanut, so I just loved that little correlation. I got to like connect to the characters a little bit more. I got to connect to the story just a tad bit more than maybe the average person. Very niche, but I just wanted to throw that out there. There were some really good one-liners in this book. I think Parker was such an unlikable character, and I'm sorry she did not have a redemption arc at all. I would definitely check trigger warnings if you wanted to go into this book. I don't know if that would be considered a spoiler on what you see, but I felt like there were topics that could have been triggering, so just FYI there. I thought the author's note was really touching and very endearing, and the acknowledgments was cool because she recognized all of the outreach professionals to make this story an accurate depiction of facial blindness. And it reminded me of Abby Jimenez putting in so much work with experts and professionals to make sure that going about the topics, there's like smoke going, what? It just reminded me of Abby Jimenez with all the additional work that they're doing on the outside to either talk about the said topic accurately and professionally, and also very delicately, because they obviously don't want to upset anyone. They want to make sure that what they're writing is accurate. I just wanted to shout out Catherine Center for all of her outreach and all of her interviews and all of her time dedicated to making sure that she spoke about facial blindness correctly. I gave Hello Stranger 4 stars. I read Funny Story and I gave Funny Story 3 stars. Now listen, okay? For some reason, I just could not connect to this story or the characters. I couldn't care less. And this is me, okay? I just ranted about how I love forced proximity, I love fake dating, I love marriage of convenience, I love it all. I love it all, but for some reason, this book did not do it for me. I don't know what it was. I feel like a broken record when it comes to saying that I love fake dating, but that's a side note. It's about Miles and Daphne. Miles is a popular guy in a small town. He works at a winery. He basically has such a large network that he knows anyone for anything. And then you have Daphne, who is, again, a fellow book lover. She's a librarian at the small town. And she also is dealing with a lot of loss in her life than just losing her fiance to her ex-fiance's, I don't fucking know how to describe it. Basically, Miles had a girlfriend, I don't even remember her name. Guys, a 3 star is so forgettable to me, okay? This is why it's a 3 star. Anyways, it's about Miles and Daphne. Their significant others broke up with each other to get with each other. So they move in together and they just figure out the grief of a relationship, a serious relationship at that, and Daphne's just trying to get her life back on track, kind of make it her own, because she has been so lenient and very go with the flow, and now she's establishing roots and friendships and career and etc. So Daphne, I resonated with her because she isn't good with her boundaries, establishing them and then respecting yourself enough, especially with loved ones and family, not to just throw out my dirty laundry, but I really resonated with Daphne with that. Miles is an active service king kind of man. He shows up authentically and is present, and he genuinely cares about others. And I really couldn't connect to the characters or the story. I had a fun time reading it. The audiobook really helped me get through this, but I couldn't even tell you what the ending was. I actually forgot so much about this book. So sorry for any of you Funny Story absolute lover stans, okay? We can still be besties, okay? We can still be besties. It's just our favorite books are different. The next one and the last one I read was Throne of Glass. Literally, I started this series. Can everyone just be so happy for me? Because I feel like I'm the last person to read this series. Literally the last person. And I own the entire series. Why did I buy the entire series before I even read the first book? Don't tell me. I worked at Barnes & Noble, okay? When you get 50% off books, you do things. You do questionable purchases. Throne of Glass, Sarah J. Maas. So excited. This is the order that I decided to read it in. I'm going to go Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and then Assassin's Blade. Please don't come for me. I'm just following Queen Sarah J. Maas's recommended order. If I want to reread the series, then I'm going to go to Assassin's Blade. Speaking on that, though, there were a couple mentions of Selena Sardathian's past that I know for sure are talked about in Assassin's Blade. So I think reading Assassin's Blade first would have been beneficial. However, I'm not saying that it was a bad thing. I really enjoyed it. It didn't make me connect any less to the character. If anything, it made me want to continue to read the story more to understand it. I just don't understand why I would read Crown of Midnight next instead of Assassin's Blade. But we'll see what happens in Crown of Midnight. I loved the little mystery element and the little like whodunit, because she basically has to fight for her freedom in this champions game, and the last one standing basically is the king's champion, and she is the Prince of Crowns champion electee. So yeah, I'll take that with what you will. I loved the like found family / found friends aspect to this. The Captain of the Guard has my heart, actually. I feel like Sarah J. Maas is just gonna hurt me, okay? I just feel like that. But yeah, I loved the little romance as well. I did not see that happening. The whole time I was reading this, I was wholeheartedly so impressed that Sarah J. Maas wrote this book and even created the concept at the age of 16. She probably created the concept younger than that, but I don't know. I'm just so impressed, and I'm so excited to continue this series. You have no idea. I also listened to this with the audiobook. Audiobook was very well done. I also enjoyed how, even though it's third person, you still kind of switched point of views or perspectives, which I enjoyed. And I think those were all my thoughts. Let me see. I'm so sorry if the angle changed. My camera battery died. I was saying that Selena is a baddie. Like, I just have to say that. She is an assassin and a baddie. For some reason, I felt so afraid to jump into the series. I don't know why, but I just thought it was going to be so complex and very detail-oriented and hard to get through. But this was such a pleasant surprise. The writing was super easy to follow. The world building was like middle of the road. It wasn't too hard to get into. I felt like it was easy to understand. I thought that the writing was a little funny at times. I don't know if it was just Selena and the way her character is, but I can't wait to see what kind of shit she gets into in the rest of the series. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the competition aspect, which I'm starting to find a trend that it's in a lot of fantasy books. I thought this one was done well. I loved the banter. Can we talk about the banter for a second? Like, I was fed reading this book with all the banter. Like, I'm literally getting giddy because, yeah. I had so many highlights in my Kindle, which I can't wait to transfer to my physical copy. Very curious to see what the rest of this series entails, because I'm so afraid. I'm afraid for my heart. I ended up giving Throne of Glass 5 stars. I loved it. I loved it. If this is the beginning to the story, I am afraid. I am fearful. So, 2 5-star reads. Completely opposite, but obsessed. Obsessed. I'm so excited to have 2 5-star reads. I am very excited to put all of my books on the shelves behind me. And if you have made it this far, make sure to leave. What do I want you to leave? If you've made it this far, leave the sun emoji because it is still summertime. And let me know what your favorite read was down in the comments below for the month of July. Have you read any of these books? Am I so controversial? Have I made a couple hot comments on your favorite books? Let me know. I want to have a discussion. I also want to do a huge thank you. I have officially reached over 100 subscribers, and that to me felt so far-fetched, and so it is truly a dream. Thank you so much for deciding to subscribe. I hope you enjoy my videos. I love uploading them and getting your comments. Every single like, every single comment truly makes my day. I get giddy over it. I get so happy, and so I genuinely want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for getting me over 100 subscribers and being so supportive and so kind to my channel. I was so afraid to start this, but I am very excited to see where my channel goes. I'm also very excited to see some more August uploads. Also getting into some fall mood as well. Read with me's, day in the lives, book shopping, reading journal. Like, I have so many plans for this channel. I hope you like this video, comment down below, and decide to subscribe and stick around. Okay, bye!